Yes, Alfie. Big news today, eh? I got Josh Denzel joining for the person who asked. Here he is.
What's
Yes,
happening,
G.
boss? Easy.
You good? You've been putting the work in, haven't you?
I've been
Bike rides
trying.
and runs.
I've been trying, mate. You know what I mean? I'm trying to shift this lockdown weight, bro.
How's it all going now during lockdown? All good, yeah?
Going well, mate. It's going well. Thriving and surviving. You know what I mean? Been a bit tiring last few weeks, but you know what I mean? We move. Hit the Black Lives Matter protest in London as well. So feeling good.
Well, I'm going to come on to that, Josh. But you know, we've had so much like negative news over the last couple of months. Every time you switch on the news, it's about people dying, and you know, it's all racism thing going on at the moment. But some mad positive news come out today.
Wow.
Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua agreed terms for 2 fights next year. Thoughts?
I thought this was going to be one of those, you know, Pacquiao Mayweather situation where we'd be waiting 5 years for it, and it was going to just drag on and drag on and drag on. But yeah, it's hugely positive. I didn't expect it to come out. You know what I mean? I thought, and especially if it's a 2-fight deal, that's what the people want.
We've had it off.
It's unbelievable. Is it been confirmed where it is or not?
No date or venue's been confirmed, but I think we can predict it somewhere in the Middle East. That fight.
Yeah. That's where the money is.
Exactly, a truckload of it. But no, you're right. It's come quick because Eddie Hearn's on one side of the table, Frank Warren's on the other side, and we didn't think they'd be able to work that quick.
Nah, not at all.
Get the fight done.
But you know what? I mean, both camps have been saying, you know what? They don't want it. AJ don't want it. Tyson don't want it, etc. But really and truly, I think this has proven that both the fighters, you know what I mean, if you take away the promotion, if you take away all of the variables, these boys just want to go out and fight, wherever it is, whenever it is. And obviously I see Big Josh in the knee brace as well. So hopefully by 2021 it won't make a difference with the training, etc. And Fury's still got to fight Wilder again. So we'll see how that goes down, because that could throw everything into disarray.
Well, basically, if Joshua beats Pulev and Fury beats Wilder, then we've got the 2 fights next year. But it is heavyweight boxing, so they've got to be on it.
When we was in New York that June, no one could foresee what happened. So you know, I mean, especially with someone like Wilder, who has that one punch power. Even though Tyson Fury took him to school, he's still that one moment that could change the whole landscape. But I'm just so happy it's done. It's a British super fight. I mean, it's the biggest. I mean, I can't remember in my lifetime a bigger British fight when the two best heavyweights in the world are going to fight each other and they're both British.
Yeah, I think like Froch Groves 2 was obviously massive, 80,000 at Wembley, as Carl likes to tell us, and that. But you know, that wasn't heavyweights, and that was more of a national fight. This is world level. This is number one, number two in the division going at it. And we'll find out who's number one when this finally happens. Josh, you mentioned Anthony's in a knee brace. It caught us all by surprise. Did you know anything about this? Had you spoken to him about it?
Do you know what? I hadn't spoken at all to him. And then I've seen, you know, I think he was going past me somewhere, and I've seen him in the knee brace. I was like, what is going on here? This don't look well. I'm like, oh geez, you know, my heart skipped a beat. But yeah, you mentioned that it was just it was a twinge that happened in training. So it doesn't. I mean, even that knee brace looks very serious, but hopefully the injury isn't as serious. Hopefully it's not like an MCL or an ACL injury that could put you out the game and stop you training for months and months. He seems to be quite mobile on it. You know, we saw him walking around. He had the crutches, but he's got a little electric scooter that he pops around on. So I think that's the mode of transport for now.
Josh, the main reason I want to speak to you is, as I said earlier, everyone's talking about race at the moment, and I've seen so many people come together of all backgrounds in this movement, you know, to try and just end this bullshit, basically. Why did you firstly attend the protests, and what were they like, Josh?
Yeah, so I went down to the protest, and for me, I feel like this is the biggest civil rights movement that we've seen globally, and for me as a black guy, like, you know what I mean, my mum's from St. Kitts in the Caribbean, part of the Windrush generation, and my dad's white. So for me, I felt like it would be wrong for not to be a part of this huge civil rights movement and try and inspire other people. I've got a big platform. You've got to inspire people to make the change and to have those conversations. You know, a lot of people say, well, I'm not racist. You know, well, you know, I'm not racist. I don't say any racist things, but you can't just be not racist. You have to be anti-racist. And I mean, I went down there to show that my anti-racist stance, because you can't be out here being passive, because that's what, you know, that's what's been happening over the last, you know, 400 years racism has existed. And we still in 2020 haven't got to a point where, you know, that us as, you know, part of the minority feel like you have equal rights and feel like you have a fair shot at life. You know what I mean? Like, even if you look at, you know, the lockdown laws, you know, black people are twice as likely to be fined for breaching lockdown laws than anyone else. And you think, is that fair, seeing as we make up such a small percentage of the population in the UK, in London especially? So, you know, for me, it's like, you know, he's trying to make a change and trying to inspire people, and try and inspire people to have this awkward conversation with friends, to look at within themselves and to really make a positive impact by, you know, whether it be legislation, whether it be petitions, whether it be just confronting those people that maybe, you know, say a few, you know, comments that you might think is a bit of banter, and you've got to pull people up on that. And I think now it's the time, and in this, you know, we're riding a wave of anti-racist sentiment, and, you know, if you're not part of that, you know, you've got to look at yourself.
Well said. I hear that. Of course, I know you've seen Anthony Joshua's speech that he made at a peaceful protest in Watford. Yeah. It's gathered a lot of talk on social media, Josh. Some people aren't happy about it. Some people are backing him. What did you make of the comments where he was talking about abstaining from spending money in certain people's shops? And I took it as if he was talking about racist shops and racist businesses. But some people saying, oh, he just said spend money in black businesses and ignore white and other colour businesses. How did you interpret it? Yeah,
for me, you know, I think he came out and said he was reading from a speech, you know, that his friend Reese had written, and he added a few words himself. And you know, I'm happy to know AJ like that. And for me, I think what he was saying was you have to support black businesses. So when he says abstain from spending money in that, you know, their shops, he might not be talking about races, but he might be talking about the majority. So he's like, right, why don't you support black businesses? Why don't you, you know, if we keep this money within the community for even a short period of time, we can grow and we can build and we can compete at the same level. So for me, you know, I don't want to talk, you know, on his speech. I'm not in his head, but, you know, from knowing him and from knowing that he's a positive guy, he has friends from every single, you know, race, color and creed. He has fans from every single race, color and creed. He's a very open man. He's a very spiritual man. You know what I mean? He doesn't agree with, you know, he doesn't agree with putting people down based on color or creed or religion, etc. So I think from there, you know, from what I took from him, it wasn't, you know, don't ever spend your money in the shops that aren't owned by black people, but really, really focus on, you know, I mean, supporting black owned businesses and helping build up ourselves.
I mean, if you want to interpret in some way and take a little clip and then share that around.
It's easy to do.
Exactly.
You know, it's happened to, I think it's probably happened to all of us, you know, where, you know, especially if you have a lot of, you know, content that goes out into the media, on socials, whatever it may be, even in the conversation, you can always twist and turn, you know, a snippet of conversation without any context and without, you know, speaking to that person directly into something that you want. Any agenda that you know, you can put forward. So for me to take, you know, 15 seconds, 20 seconds out of a 5, 10, 15-minute speech is never going to show you the full picture.
Something I'll add as well is he did say, when you support your own communities, he said all communities. He didn't just say black communities. He said all communities should support their own communities. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be honest.
Exactly. And I think that, you know, everyone has the right to be treated as equal, and everyone should feel like they have an equal chance. And if you don't feel that way, you know, you have to show support. And there's, you know, people talk about positive discrimination. I think, you know, from where I'm sitting, from my point, you know, I'm living a very privileged life at the moment. There are a lot of people that aren't in who look like me, who sound like me, you know, who grew up like me. So for me, you know, I mean, I think it's that positive. He's talking about that positive discrimination where, you know, if you're looking at two shops and one is a person of color, or, you know, I mean, part of the BAME community, support those people because they're the ones that need the help specifically.
Yeah. As a young black male, do you feel like there's hope in your heart that this situation will get better one day, Josh, with racism?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to hope. I mean, you can't look at it. I mean, this is why we march. This is why we protest. This is why we try and educate. I think this is the start of a wave of education where people are starting to question a lot of things. You know, what are we learning about in history in schools? You know, why don't I know about this? Why has it taken all of this to happen over in the US for us to, you know, confront some of the issues we have here in the UK? It's an educational thing, and hopefully no one's too smart to be educated. No one's too old to change. I mean, if you look at people, you know, from a generation where maybe their parents thought it was okay to do certain things. Back in the day, people thought smoking 20 cigarettes a day was healthy. You know what I mean? We've seen a massive change where everybody in the world now knows that that's not the case. And if we can do that with racism, you know what I mean? If that happened in 30 years and 40 years, we can hope there's a change in people's mentalities and throughout the world, because it has to be now. You know, if we don't move now, and we don't move with these seeds of change, and we don't ask people to educate themselves, you know what I mean, we're failing, you know, the world as a people. So for me, yeah, this does seem like the beginning of a very, very, very successful movement. And we've already seen legislation come in the US and the UK. And, you know, I watched a Windrush documentary yesterday, you know, and we've already seen that there are many, many people in the media that are now starting to catch on to some of the racial disparities there are, and some of the divisive legislation that we've seen in government for years and years. So we are seeing change, and this is just the beginning. This is just, you know, a drop of sand on a beach, this one march, and we want to see everyone getting involved in this.
I think you summed it up well there, Josh. Listen, thanks for joining me, and
Pleasure.
I'll let you go. Best for the rest of lockdown. Hopefully, I see you at a show at the Matchroom fight camp at Eddie's back garden.
I might see you in Eddie's back garden. We never know.
Before I let you go, actually, have you been told anything about that covering stuff for JD or anything like that?
I got a text saying you might have to get your passport to go down to Essex because it looks like it's happening. So I'm happy, you know, to get sport back, especially in a controlled environment, but just to get boxing back for me is going to be a huge. There's nothing like it. Like it. And you know what I mean, maybe the Matchroom offices could be the hub of boxing. You never know. It could be the new Madison Square Gardens.
And they're saying White Povetkin for the end of the schedule, so that's not a bad, tasty fight to look forward to.
You know what? To be ringside for that, and to be able to hear every single punch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, Josh. I'll speak to you soon. All right, take care.
My pleasure, guys. Have a good one.